Oh my God, if I die, I'm a legend. When they lay me down to rest, I know I was always repping. Oh my God, my whole life.
What's up, Sober Squad, yeah? As you guys know, I'm Dylan, and today I'm going to explain to you about my story, where I came from, what led me to my addiction, my bitter ends of my addiction, and now in recovery, and how I feel now, and how I got out of it. So, you know, we talk about this disease of addiction. I'm a drug addict and alcoholic, as I've mentioned, and I'm not scared to share my truth anymore. And you know, leading up to this situation, as I've explained, I want to connect with you guys, those who are still in addiction, those who are in recovery, and I would like to hear your guys' experiences, strength, and hope. And this video is about sharing my life story. My life story would take 2 hours, but I'm going to try and cut it in as little time as possible. So, where do I start? You know, growing up, single mom. My dad, I don't know him to this day. He basically left us when I was a couple of months old, and to this day I don't know where he is. He hasn't got a hold of me. When I was about 10, he asked me to send 10,000 rand once, and that's what he did, and I never heard of him again. And my mom had this tough life growing up. She worked a double job, day and night, looking after me. I used to go to my mom's friends' houses, and I was well looked after. You know, growing up in my childhood, I was that good boy. I didn't scream for many things, and I was a happy boy, you know, a boy that a lot of people used to love being around with, and good comments about me and so forth. But, you know, growing up 6 years old, my stepdad came into the story, and he gave us a new life. He looked after us. He provided food. He stopped my mom from struggling so much. And you know, I lived this really good life. I went to primary school, and things were going really well. In grade 4 and 5, I started getting into sports, started playing cricket, started doing really well. Really good bowler, started getting 5-wicket hauls and so forth. And my sporting was really well. Then I got into grade 8, high school, and being known as the popular guy and the guy that everyone knows and wants to be around. And I was just that image and an icon of being this person people want to be around with, and this fun person. In grade 8 to 9, I started playing rugby as well, and I was terrible in rugby, but I had what they called, you know, butterfingers. You can't catch a ball, it just slips straight through. But yeah, going on, I really started doing well in cricket. Provincials started being promising, you know, regionals. Eventually in my cricketing career, I had promising things of SA trials. I had Northwest trials, Gauteng trials, and because of the school I was in, you know, I don't think I got that appearance of, like, I come from a big school and I have a lot of talent in myself, which I always believed. And eventually matric came, and I just started giving up, and that was the absolute wrong thing to do. I think I should have stuck it through, besides the politics and everything. But you know, sometimes we push ourselves to such a far limit and we feel like we just need to quit, and that's what I did. I started quitting. But in matric, I was on a school tour for rugby and an academy. I don't know if I should mention that academy, but an academy approached me, and for, you know, national, provincial level, they approached me and said, let's go. And that's what basically, after my matric, I passed matric with a bachelor's degree and so forth, and I wasn't too bad, and I was still going on a good life. Things were looking promising. I had overseas offers. I was really going somewhere in my life, and people looked up to me as this really, really good person, and I have a lot of future. I have a good future ahead of me. And you know, it all started in going to Sharks. I moved down to Durban in South Africa, and I just started doing really well. I trained really hard. I was into my physique. I was into my sports and so forth. And things really started looking promising, promising in the ways of now I'm in the under 19 squad. And going from there, I could have started getting paid for my rugby and so forth. And this is where my addiction started, because I was getting bigger. I started looking better. My ego started growing. The truth is, a lot of rugby guys have a big ego, and that's where I was in my stage, and I felt invincible, and nothing could stop me. Absolutely nothing. And carrying on, I started going out on weekends. Girls started coming. At that stage in matric, I had a girlfriend, but eventually it started coming to, where people were so attracted to me, and I think it was the muscles. I'm much smaller than I used to be, but that doesn't matter. And carrying on in my journey, I got to a stage where I started lying to my girlfriend. I started lying to my parents on what I was spending my money on and what I was doing during the day. And I eventually, me and my ex-girlfriend, we started smoking weed. And Durban has some really good weed. But it became an addiction. And I started using my ex-girlfriend's parents because they were really wealthy and gave us a lot of money. I started using their money for the wrong things. And when I went out drinking, I found myself getting so drunk that I didn't even know what was going on. I had blackouts. I hit people. I got involved in fights that I didn't want to. I cheated on my girlfriend. I lied to people. I became a savage. I became an absolute savage. I became the savage that didn't care about anything, and everything started becoming for me. All I wanted was self-gain for myself. And if I couldn't gain anything for myself out of it, I wouldn't do anything. And it got to the stage where things got so rough, with my ex-girlfriend, and eventually I got injured and so forth. And I carried on on this journey, and eventually I had to leave Sharks. I went back home, got a job. To make things easier, I got a job which my ex-girlfriend's parents got me, and I was into it again. I started traveling a lot. I got a company car, and everything was nice. I didn't have petrol to pay for. All my furniture was paid for at that stage, and food was paid for. I mean, we used to get food delivered to our house. I didn't even need to go to the shops, and life was lavish. And I thought, the way I'm carrying on is all good, because people warned me, but I never ever listened to them. And how my addiction started is, at that stage it really, really started. I was an everyday weed smoker. I used to drink every weekend and eventually I was at the stage where I started experimenting with other drugs, cocaine, cat. I tried shrooms. I tried acid. I went to a psychedelic festival where, as you know, that's just crazy. And it's just a drug festival. That's all it is. You don't see anyone sober. And I came into this routine where I was so good at running away from the reality of things. I didn't want to do my job. The drugs made me lazy. It changed my morals and my values. My attitude was so bad that I could put such a good mask on my face that when people that used to look up to me, they still had this image of I'm a good guy, but behind the scenes, I was terrible. The things I used to do, I lied, cheated, manipulated. I manipulated people into using their money. And eventually, I'm a young man. I'm a businessman, I like to believe. And, I worked hard for these things. I started up a recycling company. The drugs made me lazy eventually. I did really well for myself, bought a car and so forth, and eventually I sold the car, and before I knew it, the money from selling that car was gone. And that's what drugs do to you. They take every single thing you have away. They take your relationships away. They break you down to the absolute bottom. And I kept digging myself into this pit, and every time I wanted to go out, I looked to drugs and alcohol for my solution. And for that instance, it felt so much better. But it really wasn't. And, in detail, in a long time I'll explain my situations in a matter of aspects in my life which I used to did, but I sold my cars. I lost 5 cars. I lost flats. I lost all my furniture. I lost every single thing. It got to a stage where I couldn't get to work and I didn't know what to do. I lost about 4 or 5 jobs within a year, and nothing worked out for me. And the more I just carried on, people were pushing me away, and I wasn't accepted by society anymore. People used to, in the end I started a shoe business, and people just bad-mouthed me wherever they could, and they publicized my name. And it got to that hectic stage where I just couldn't handle it anymore, and I had to run away from everyone and everything I could. And that's not the way to go about things. And coming into recovery now, I went into recovery and I was gone for 3 months, gone from society. I was in a house with 50 addicts, from people who come from the streets, people who are gangsters, who are drug dealers, murderers, rapists. And watching these people, how they have changed their lives, and we have a connection over hundreds of people where we connect together and we help each other through this, and we spread the message of hope across. And our hope, strengths, and experiences, help each other. And I've realized that I'm not alone in this. I'm not alone in this at all. And I've got people to share my problems with. And the way, my honesty, the honest truth to my life, I need to accept that, because acceptance in my life is extremely important. And going forward now, I don't really care what people have to say about me. At the end of the day, I just need to concede to my innermost self to say that I have been a really bad person, but I know, it's not a religious program or anything at all. It's not anything, but I look to God and I say, you know what, God, I'm not the man I want to be. I'm not the man I ought to be, but I thank God every day that I'm not the man I used to be. And every single day I'm growing, I feel better. And for me, it's all about spiritual growth, spiritual growth in living by principles of love, respect, honesty, humility over intellect. As addicts, we have this ego where we think we know everything, and everything that we want to do is going to work out for us, but we're terrible at that. And finishing off, I just want to say to you guys, there's a lot more to come, and I want you guys to talk to us, and I want you guys to connect with me so that we can connect. And you never know where this could take us. Maybe one day I will be traveling overseas and I can connect with you guys, those people who really interact with our page. And there's many services we would like to go across in helping people, connecting you guys who have problems and who are in recovery with other people across the world. Because the bigger we make our fellowship, and the bigger we do this, the bigger we make this, should I say, is what we need to endure and appreciate in our lives. And I have so much gratitude for everything that has become in my life, and all these new relationships that I'm growing in my life. And it's so pure. And once you sense this new sense of freedom and happiness, your heart starts speaking a different language to you. And in these videos, I don't really make a script or anything. I'm talking from my heart, and it's just how I feel. And just to all of you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. And there's so much more we want to do, just to let you guys know. We want to get you guys involved. Please comment on what kind of questions you have. Do you have questions for me? How did I get through certain things in my life? And if you have any questions about me, feel free to ask. Comment, like, subscribe. We would love that to grow our community. And this is not for selfish gains. We can't do this without you guys. And thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. And next up will be Martin's story, and that will also be a very interesting one too. And we hope that you guys don't go to the bitter ends like we did, and we just to spread the message of hope. And lots of love, guys. Laka, have a good day, and hang loose.